Hello, hello. My name is Kim Addis, and I'm the president and founder of Frame of Mind Coaching. You have just joined the Frame of Mind Coaching podcast, where we find individuals who have a challenge they want to share, and I get the opportunity to coach them live and on the air. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you our guest. Her name is Sasha Sandur, and she comes to us all the way from British Columbia in Canada. Sasha, welcome.
Thank you, Kim, for having me.
So you are a business owner, you're a CEO, and you run a business in that neck of the woods. What do you do? Tell us the name of the company and what is it about?
I work in one of the largest industries in BC, which is forestry.
Okay.
What we actually do is I'm involved in several businesses, but the one I'm the CEO of at the moment is called 1827 Northern Red Cedar Company. And we're a startup which has started about a year and a half ago. We did an asset acquisition and purchased machinery that we brought over from Pennsylvania and brought it to British Columbia. And we set up a manufacturing plant that produces almost like whiskey barrels for garden planters. So that's our primary product. And as any entrepreneur, we find lumber that hasn't been used or is at waste and is at the end of other people's product lines. We take that waste lumber and we produce other products with it. And one of them I am working on right now is actually a natural cedar tablet stand. So it's anything we can do with leftover wood to make it into another product and make sure that we're having that sustainability for wood that doesn't necessarily end up anywhere else other than the chipper. It's something I'm really passionate about. It's a great little company, and we've been going for about a year. So it's exciting.
Okay, so go back to the whiskey barrels. You're actually making whiskey barrels, or is it like a whiskey barrel that's used for something else?
It's like a whiskey barrel. It's a garden planter. It's a
Okay,
garden
wow.
planter.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, and so you've been at this for a year and a half, and how is it going?
It's great. A lot of it is with manufacturing. You've got production, you've got R&D. It's perfecting the product to make sure that we have all the dimensions and all the details needed to be able to ship to customers. And we tend to ship to the larger, so we do volume. Everything we do is in volume. So if somebody's going to take our product, we sell, a container load. We sell, a number of pallets at a time that are then sent to the customer, who then can be a distributor or retailer.
I see. So the customer isn't the end user and it's not the end retailer. It's a distribution company.
Yes. Every business I've ever been involved with is always B2B. I have to be honest, I have very little knowledge of the B2C sector. So everything I've done in any startup I've done, it tends to have the same formula. So we have the startup, we have the concept, we have our direct customer. So the philosophy of the business model is always the same, regardless of the product or the service that I'm selling.
Okay. So, and you said at the beginning when we first started talking this is the one you're the CEO of, but you've been involved in many other companies. And it sounds like you have lots of experience. Like this is a formula for you. So tell me a little bit about your other experience.
It's kind of a funny story, but at the age of 17, I knew that I was going to own my own business. It was in my DNA. It was something I knew I was going to do. And that's exactly what I did. So, I started working for a water cooler company in Birmingham, England. And then literally 5 years later, went on and I was headhunted. So there's a series of different experiences, but I started my very first company, which was an internet advertising company in Birmingham in 1999.
How old are you?
45 years old. I'm proud.
You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Like your skin is so perfect and smooth.
Oh, thank
We'll
you.
have to talk after. Okay, continue. I apologize. So first company, 1995, internet marketing company.
Internet advertising. So what we
Okay.
did is we had the websites and we were serving the ads, and this was revolutionary at the time. You know, people didn't have the concept. There was a lot of education that we had to do, understanding the metrics of online advertising. Now people, 25 years later, everybody knows it, everybody understands it. It's a revenue generating model. But at the time, we had a lot of explaining to do to the media buyers. So there's a huge educational process. They were used to the metrics of print. They were used to, traditional media, but online media was very, very new and cutting edge. And I was in a very unique position because it was all new and fresh and people had lots of money to throw at internet advertising and internet businesses. I actually got bought out within a year.
Wow.
It was a bit of a whirlwind. I got bought out by a company called High Media in France, and they were listed on the Nouveau Marché, which is the new technologies stock market in France. And their mandate as part of their rollout throughout Europe was to have an acquisition in England and an acquisition in Germany. And they actually started up smaller satellite offices in Belgium, in Amsterdam, and a lot of the other countries throughout Europe. And it was a whirlwind. We rebranded. They retained me as the UK managing director, running my team. It was the first time I had had that experience of working for a listed company and having to report to a board. And that was my first leg. I was 25 years old. That was my first experience into reporting to a board, reporting to a CEO, to a CFO, and as well as managing my own country, my own department per se.
Okay.
So,
And then you've had other experiences similar through the years.
yes, absolutely. Every business I've done thereafter has at least I've had my own board, and as a director of my own company, and also assisted others along the way as to how to structure the company structure, how to have, you don't necessarily have to have a hierarchy. You can have a very horizontal platform for corporate boards. It doesn't necessarily have to be all downwards. There could be a really nice balance between the corporation, the organization, and the direction that the board members would like the company to go in. Okay. And there should be synergy between the two, I've always felt.
So you're saying that there's a great deal of value that boards bring to corporations?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Direction, strategy, yes.
Okay, so and at this point, like you are coming to this particular podcast with a very specific challenge. And the challenge is, I want you to describe it. I mean, I understand it in one or two sentences, but I want to hear it from you.
The challenge I faced is I've come as an immigrant to this country.
Yeah.
And, I've been here 16 years. And as a female, as a minority, and as an immigrant, I have many challenges, many obstacles, I should say, that do not fit the norm of a lot of the corporate boards. And I need to make a little bit of a differentiation. The government has been wonderful with inclusion and diversity, and not just gender diversity, but just diversity in all brackets. But governmental institutions and politics overall is really well represented. However, now the corporate, the B2B, that is a different scene altogether, and it is a tough nut to cut to get into, because I have found that because I'm not male, I'm white, and I haven't had, the friendships over the years, and, gone to the right school, and, I don't play golf, I don't play poker, And, unfortunately, these are hindrances to developing those relationships in order to get the handshake, to be able to be nominated or appointed, and even being told about these opportunities. Because I find a lot of these opportunities happen and they're actually advertised, but they've already got a candidate in mind prior to even advertising. And the advertising is just an afterthought of, we should show that we're attempting to look for somebody else.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Why do you want to be on a board?
I truly believe that the variety of experiences I bring a new perspective.
100%. But why do you want to be on a board?
For me, it gives me satisfaction to help an organization develop their strategy and also create a vision, and then also see it being implemented on an actual corporation level.
Okay. And does it matter the size of the company?
No, not at all.
Okay. So so I find it very interesting. Okay. So as I hear you, I'm like, wow, I want to talk to her more. I want to understand how she built her businesses. I want to understand how she grew and sold all these businesses. And I want to know how, after a year and a half, she's got this very interesting business that she's created. And it sounds like you're doing a great job of finding your customer and selling. So for me, you're very equipped and you have a great deal of experience. But what's fascinating to me is that your challenge is to get into a place where, let's just say, and I'm going to be very, I'm making a general statement, where you feel like you're not welcomed. Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but when I feel like I'm not welcome somewhere, I don't want to go there.
See, I don't necessarily get the hint.
So my question to you is, like, what's the essence of what you want? What are you really after? And let me see if I can translate, and you tell me if I got it right. Okay. It sounds to me like you're this really smart person who can see strategy and figure out how to execute it very well and quickly. You're this person who has a lot of value to add to businesses. And so now the question becomes, where will you get your satisfaction from? Does it have to be in a corporate environment? Because there are a million places, a million spots who would be more than welcoming of your talents, expertise, and experience. So now the question is, are there other places where you don't have to bang your head against the wall, where you don't have to play golf or play poker, right? Are there places where you can inject a ton of value and walk away with that same degree of satisfaction without it having to be in a certain format called a corporate board?
The truth is, I never asked myself that question. I think I know how to run a business. I know how to create a business. I know how to do what I do this. I actually started sitting on a board of directors 2 years ago for the small businesses of BC. So it's a provincial board that oversees all small businesses under I think it's under 50 employees and $5 million turnover. So it's been very satisfying, the 2 years that I've been sitting on that particular board. The time commitment is not intensive. It's almost like going to a ball game. Somebody might enjoy going to watch a particular football game, or they might enjoy watching a football or a sport that they really enjoy. For me, sitting on a board is you're only there 2-3 times a year. You're injecting, you get to see an overview of something, and you get to be part of the coaching team to how to set the play. And now our next steps are watching how the game goes. And you come back the next time you see the results. So I suppose that's my sense of satisfaction in sitting on a board. Could I get that satisfaction elsewhere? I don't know. I really enjoy
Well,
working.
yeah, and maybe what I'm suggesting is that there are other formats, other structures that would welcome your expertise. So I don't know if you've heard of organizations like EO or Tech or Vistage or YPO. Those organizations are filled with entrepreneurs at various levels of revenue success, who are all looking for mentors, coaches, input, strategic advisors. They're all looking for that, especially from someone who's had a measure of success. And so as I hear you, I'm thinking like there's a vast, I'll even call it a market for your expertise. And I think that you're butting up against a situation where you're saying, yeah, but I should be able to go there.
I think I've always been used to seeing a challenge and being able to persevere through it and finding a way through it. So my attraction to corporate boards is there's a sense of validation of my work experience. Some people, they've gone the traditional route. They've got the degree, they've got the master's, they may even have the PhD. And so therefore the educational route, and then they've started their career and they've gone along that path. I came out of school and started working at 17 years old. And sitting on the corporate board has helped me establish a sense of validation of my work experience at a certain level.
Yes.
So I kind of find that maybe the prestige talks to me, and maybe I'm thinking about it the wrong way.
Well, but so here it is, right? So like in a way, you're looking to them, to this structure for validation, which, you know, in and of itself, you're like, once I get accepted by this society, then I'm valuable. And strangely enough, this society will only select people who already feel they're valuable. And that's how all societies work. And so you're right. so like it's a very funny trap. And so the question becomes, is it being part of this experience that gives you validation as and a sense of prestige, or is it a sense of, hey, I get to be at the ball game with a whole bunch of variety of players at different levels in the game, and I get to help watch these players grow and get better at what they do. And so does it have to be one or the other? No, but I will suggest to you that it's impossible to get into that professional league. We're using baseball as your example, right? If you feel like getting in is going to give you that thumbs up, right? Because what you're really doing is you're kind of scratching at the door, kind of let me in, let me in, let me in. And they're like, who are you? Right? So, and you have brought to the table all these reasons why not. I understand, but I would suggest to you that those reasons are slowing you down. So when you think, hey, here's what I bring to the table, and I am an A+ player, that's very different in your approach, in your energy, in your kind of disposition and how you show up. And the exchange is different. And so the real question that I have for you is like, what is the driver for this? Is the driver to, be at the ballpark and watch the game and give the players some assistance, in which case you can have all kinds of players at different levels of the organization? Or is your real driver to say, I want to be in the big leagues and I want them to accept me, so I'm waiting for them to determine whether or not I have, like, to give me that approval, that affirmation? And because if you're waiting for someone to give you affirmation, it doesn't come.
I I think it validates my work experience, not necessarily me. I don't need validation for myself. Um, I think validation for my career path is a bonus, and it's a nice to have. But the sense of satisfaction I get when I sit on a board. So, someone like myself, I bring a cultural, an immigrant and a female perspective to a working environment. There's different empathy levels, there's different compassionate levels, there's different strategies and visions that I can bring. So when I look at these boards and I see that they're working in a certain direction, I don't necessarily feel that that corporation is getting a fair shake of input of ideas, input of concepts. So it draws me. I keep feeling the draw to saying, hey, I know I've got something that to bring to the table. I have something that I feel that would work very well in understanding the challenges you have as a business and look at the employees that we have in this Canadian landscape. A lot of them are immigrants. A lot of them are coming from different countries. A lot of them are coming from different education backgrounds. But you, as a board, don't necessarily reflect your organization. So I believe that I can bring that to the organization.
I'm 100% sure that you can, but I'm
Yeah,
still trying to understand why you want to.
why I want to.
Right? Like I have no doubt. I have absolutely no doubt.
Yeah, I think if there's more of us in that space, it'll open the door for others to keep coming into that space. There's always got to be somebody who has to do it first. There's always somebody who's got to crack the egg. And I'm okay to crack the egg. I've got a pretty thick skin. So, I'm not daunted by the no's. I keep trying. And I truly feel that somebody has to do it. And why not me?
So I'm going to try something a little bit different with you, okay? Because I have an interesting kind of sense or a feeling with you. Like even in this conversation, I already accept that you have value to bring, but you're still demonstrating your value.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in other words, like, I'm like, yeah, hell, you have all this experience in business. I don't care if you're a woman, if you're a man, if you're tall, if you're short, if you're an immigrant or not. Like for me, all that doesn't matter. It makes no difference to me. All that matters is you have experience that I could benefit from. That's it. That's it. That's all. And as we're having this conversation, you're still going back to, yes, but I have, like I'm a female and I see things differently, and you're still proving to me your value.
Right.
And what I'm really saying is you don't need to prove to me your value anymore. Not in this conversation, but and so there are I have two directions I want to go in, and they're opposing and opposite. And they don't make sense, but I'll share them with you anyway. One is the minute you stop needing to prove your value and focus on your experience and literally create an ROI for what you bring to the table, as opposed to the perspective and the, here's my unique value, the conversation changes away from women, immigrants, all that stuff. Now the conversation's really a business conversation. And that's the conversation I'm guessing they really want to have, as opposed to, yes, I can bring a different perspective because of, my unique makeup.
Right.
Okay. So it's a conversation of, A, you don't need to prove yourself anymore. You don't need to defend your abilities and your uniqueness. We get it. The second piece of it is, how do we create an ROI? How do we have a conversation? In other words, they're having a certain conversation and you're having a different conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Your languages are completely different. You're talking about empathy and compassion, and they're like, yeah, well, show me the numbers.
Right. Yeah.
And while certainly your perspective will add tremendous value, they're not even turning their heads because you are not speaking their language. And the reason you're not speaking their language is because you're still trying to prove your value.
Right.
Right?
So change my dialogue, change my approach.
Well, first you have to decide, I have value. I don't have to keep talking about the fact that I'm a woman and I'm an immigrant. I have value because I'm intelligent, I have a track record, and I understand business. That's very different.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is, I'm going to go in and talk to them. You're talking about the dialogue, about what matters to them. It doesn't matter to them that I'm a woman and I'm an immigrant and all this other stuff. It matters to them that I can show them how to increase their profit margin.
Yes.
That's it. That's the conversation. Remove all else. Come to the table saying, of course I'm valuable. Of course I'm equipped. Of course I have something worthwhile to bring to the table. I don't even have to talk about that. Here's how I can bring you to the next level. That's a different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely reframe my approach.
And I just think that, you know, it's funny, like you're talking about golf and poker, and I get it. I don't play golf either. But what's happening on the golf course? They're having a certain kind of conversation. And in order for them to be interested, you have to understand the nature of that conversation and have the conversation they want to be having. In order for you to just get in the door and then say, hey, we should also be talking about this other stuff.
Right. Yeah. I can definitely reframe my language and my approach, to almost put everything else on the back burner and just approach directly, to do with the organization itself.
Yes.
And you know, how, like you said, how I can contribute to that bottom line.
And here's my experience. Here's what I've accomplished. Here are my numbers. Here's where I, you know, how I built up these businesses. Here's how I sold them, etc. So it's for them relatable experience.
Right. Yeah.
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can see how I need to change, or I can like I said, reframe it, reframe that dialogue.
Amazing. I mean, I would love to talk to you about my business. Maybe we can do that later. But I just want to say thank you so much for spending this time with me, for sharing your challenge, for allowing me the honor to coach you. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who are listening, I hope that you've taken something away from this particular coaching conversation. And if you have a challenge that you want to bring to the podcast, please reach out to me. My email address is kim@frameofmindcoaching.com. And if you have a challenge that you do not want to discuss on the podcast, reach out to me anyway. My email address is kim@frameofmindcoaching.com. Sasha, thank you so much for joining me. It is my
Kim, thank you
pleasure
so much
and
for having
honor.
me.